Well. 5 matches into the World Cup, and we may have witnessed the greatest upset in the history of the tournament. This is no exaggeration, nobody in their wildest imagination could have seen this coming. The upset of all upsets. Saudi Arabia stands as the second lowest ranked team in the tournament according to FIFA, while Argentina is the third. The point is only emphasized when you compare any metric in regard to the two national teams, as Argentina is as elite as they come. But with an experienced manager who is comfortable with taking risks, and a team who are willing to go out on their shields, Saudi Arabia have proven that where there is a will, there is truly a way. On Group C's match day 1, French tactician, Hervé Renard lined his men up in the 4-1-4-1 and in doing so, he intended to achieve the following objectives. Although the formation is considered highly defensive, as there is only one man up front, it can be converted into a highly attacking adaptation, given the players in the system. The formation is fluid, and ensures congestion in central space at all times, while allowing for easy adaptation to expand and compress the pitch. It is an ideal scheme for a zonal marking system, as each man has a clear understanding of the zone in which they must guard, and given the proximity of the men, they can converge zones easily, compressing the space. The 5-man midfield preserves the integrity of the backline, who can maintain their shape and understanding, while allowing for them to be responsive and fluid to threats on the flanks while expanding. Midfielders can fill any gaps as a result of the defensive line expanding to the flanks. This allows for further defensive and attacking adaptations, which will be discussed later in further detail. Renard took a massive gamble, by conceding the fact that Argentina would overwhelm possession. However, he mitigated his risk by instructing his men to remain zonally sound in the mid-block, which they maintained for the majority of the match. This mid-block was as aggressive as possible, with Renard instructing his men to maintain a high line, to compress central space as much as possible for the opposition. In doing so, Saudi were daring Argentina to play through their compact and congested lines, which is something that Argentina are completely capable of doing, given the technical quality of their men. This was a massive gamble against truly elite competition, as a lapse in concentration will leave you vulnerable to be carved up, instantly. So long as the men maintain their positions in the compressed space, their zones and areas of coverage are minimized, offering a major advantage to the team with faster players, as they can cover distance, while selectively pressing, making it difficult for even the most technical players. Renard instructed the sharp end of the block to remain narrow, coordinated and cohesive. By keeping things narrow, and without an intense press of the backline, Argentina were given all the time they needed, however the midfield was packed with bodies. With these elements in effect, Saudi were primed to play counter-attacking football, and the front line had to remain highly adaptive, supportive and clinical. Given that they were looking to concede possession to a technically superior opponent, their attacking players would have to feed on scraps, find attacking solutions, and make the most out of limited opportunities. Argentina absolutely dominates the run of play. Going into the match they were on a 36-match unbeaten run, in which they maintained an average of 60% possession. It goes without saying that they have one of the best players in the history of the game, in addition to excellent accessory pieces. The reigning South American champions are seen as a favorite to win the tournament, and despite this loss, we are still hesitant to count them out. Manager Lionel Scaloni lined his men up in the 4-4-2, for solidarity against the oppositional 4-1-4-1, while accommodating for two clinical finishers, in Lionel Messi and Lautaro Martinez. Although Argentina and Messi are notorious for playing the false nine, Lionel Scaloni instructed his strikers to remain central in the early stage of the match. Scaloni conceded to a lack of pace on behalf of his center backs, pairing Nicolas Otamendi and Christian Romero for precision and control. A manager can control the run of play, when he has a technically sound backline, as they are unbothered by pressure and can distribute the ball to multiple tiers. This is essential to a system that deploys slower backs, as they can maintain a shallow line in proximity to their goal, reducing the transitional and defensive area if the play were to break down. To compensate, it must be ensured that there are vertical and diagonal options available to the backline, at all times, with support available. Hence, why Scaloni's fullbacks would work in tandem, pushing forward in the midfield or the second tier in relation to the backline. Angel Di Maria was placed on the right wing, in the advanced tier, supplying diagonal width to the backline. With Di Maria supplying the diagonal option in advanced space, Messi and Martinez worked advanced and vertical. With two centrally fixed, vertical options, Argentina had success early in the match, capitalizing on Saudi's aggressive high and compressed line. Argentina's quick, nimble and agile roster allowed for them to maneuver in the compressed spaces, with the midfielders, Papu Gomez and Rodrigo de Paul drifting into pockets to advance the ball and avoid negative play. Only the most elite teams can continue to play positively in the face of such congestion, and the combination of verticality, with Di Maria as the diagonal outlet, worked in Argentina's favor, as Saudi were kept on their toes, in anticipation of altered methods of attack. The central strikers had to synchronize themselves with the dispatcher of the ball, as once they did they would have acres of space to gain separation to finish. In hindsight, we can confidently assume that Renard anticipated this, and thus, instructed his defenders to diligently work the offside trap, with razor-thin margins for Argentina's attackers to work in the compressed space. Although Messi was not completely fixed, he was far less mobile, with Di Maria on the right, and the threat could be anticipated more easily. The dispatch was as effective as the synchronicity between the players. By the 15th minute, Argentina had scored 3 goals by dispatching the central men, however they were all disallowed. By this point, it was clear that Saudi Arabia had mastered the offside trap, and the trade-off of keeping Messi centrally fixed was no longer worth it. Messi would begin to vacate himself as a vertical option to help solidify the midfield. Argentina continued their iron grip of the midfield, however Saudi were slowly beginning to turn the tide of the match, remaining highly organized, while not being baited by Argentina, who were making grandmaster moves. The strategy was altered to utilize the diagonal outlet more often and capitalize on the shifts to the flanks. The threat of the diagonal expanded the pitch for Argentina, while also freeing up space for Messi, as numbers shifted. Messi could act as a trailing runner, and Argentina were intelligent in working the flanks and half spaces to continue attacking. As previously mentioned, Saudi's attackers had to remain crystal clear and focused to make the most of any opportunities as they came available. With Messi now frequently dropping into the midfield, Saudi center-backs could play even more aggressively on him, as this was a routine exercise at this stage of the match. The brilliance of Renard's system is that due to the high line of his defenders, and the compressed space, direct play is even more effective. Counter-attacking transitions occur within a split second, over a shorter distance, which makes things far more difficult to contain. This is due to the fact that it requires quick reactions, quick bursts of speed, and raw athleticism to close ground instantly. Argentina's excellent defensive record has been a reflection of their dominance of possession, which greatly limits oppositional opportunities. However, as the ball is played into space, it is Saudi Arabia who have the advantage. The two central strikers have fixed and confused the center-backs, who have overlapping zones, meaning neither can commit to the tackle without compromising the other. Saudi Arabia have made overlapping zones a double-edged sword, an asset for them, a liability for Argentina. The reason that it works against Argentina in this scenario is because it occurs in massive space, central space, and because the backline has no positional integrity, in the form of reinforcements on the outside. This concentrates the threat, placing the defenders in multiple minds. With so many potential threats to consider, each defender is experiencing an analysis overload. The speed of striker, Saleh Al-Shari, allows him to easily turn the defender, who is at his whim, and gain separation for the finish, which is absolutely clinical. Argentina adjusted by upping the ante, and increasing the intensity of the attack on Di Maria's flank, to find a trailing option to finish. We must give massive credit to both Renard and the Arabian Falcons, as they had the guts to maintain a high line and defend against the consequences, and were rewarded handsomely because of this. Saudi's keeper, Mohamed Al-Awais, deserves a commendation for a tremendous performance, as he was deployed in an extremely aggressive sweeper-keeper role. His starting positions were excellent, and he was alert and reactive to any and all threats. He finished the match with 4 actions outside of the penalty box, with 17.4 yards of average distribution. In fact, it is his direct delivery that led to the match-winning goal, as Saudi never attempted to play out of the back, opting to launch the ball from the restart. Saudi Arabia's right back is found, as he gains entry into dangerous attacking space, through his pace. The goal that would eventually be scored requires little analysis, as it is purely a moment of brilliance from Salem Al-Dawsari. However, the goal was created by frantic defending, which is caused by reactive defending through direct delivery. Saudi Arabia were highly adaptable, shifting from a formation that prioritized a congested midfield, to an instant offensive threat, with numbers running into space, that was efficient, converting both of their only shots of the match. This is in stark contrast to Argentina, who went 5 for 14, while maintaining nearly 70% possession throughout the match. For Saudi Arabia, this was a true display of genuine individual and tactical brilliance. Saudi Arabia won nearly every individual battle, despite being categorically outplayed, everywhere but the scoreboard. On this day, Saudi Arabia shocked the world, and immortalized this squad for eternity. We are confident that Argentina will respond, relying less on midfield solidarity, and more on their brilliant attacking players. The stage is set for Lionel Messi to respond, and we have full confidence that he will. However, this is a moment to savor. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe for more tactical analysis.